Welcome to Grit, Grace, and Resilience. I'm your host, Michelle DeGrange. I'm a corporate leader, mentor, life coach in training, and a mom to what feels like 37 kids. Just kidding, only 6. Apparently, all that qualifies me to overshare on the internet. Every one of us has a story of overcoming, and this podcast is here to dig into those and talk about life and what overcoming with grit, grace, and resilience looks like. If you like things a little messy and sometimes a little unhinged, you'll fit right in. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Welcome to Grit, Grace, and Resilience. I am so excited today to welcome our guest, Lindsey Ray, who was completely the inspiration between writing and starting my podcast with her song, Write My Story. And I listen to it every single time as my hype song, and I have an entire playlist of all of her stuff to get ready for any podcast that I write. I had the audacity to reach out to Lindsey and ask her if she would come on the podcast because her music is so inspiring and hype mode, any power female girl up, that I knew there was a story behind it. So welcome, Lindsey.
Thank you so much. It's such it's crazy to hear you say that because it's just like what a dream. Like that's the whole thing, like, when I'm writing songs like that to try to uplift people and stuff, I never really know who's hearing it or who it's affecting. So when somebody like you does reach out and say, "Hey, this has like made an impact on my life," it's the greatest thing that anyone could ever say to me. So
I
thank
hope
you.
everyone on here listens and looks up, and I want you to tell all of your different names. I have everything under Ollie Anna. I have everything downloaded. It literally is some of the most hype, inspiring, I can do anything, whatever you dream of, you can do, go get it, go chase it music I've ever listened to. Like, it is absolutely the best.
I love it. I mean, that
What
was the
are,
whole purpose of it. That's the whole point of writing all of those songs was to write songs that would give that kind of energy off. You know what I mean?
and you
Like
have
that
different
was the
names,
intent.
right?
Yeah.
Like you have, like, so that's Oleana's persona. Is
That's
that kind of how you refer to it?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say persona. I mean, I call them different artist projects
Okay.
just because it's like, yeah, different music projects, I guess. But yeah, I had to give them different names and it felt like they're different sort of sides to my personality. Like Lindsey Ray is just me, and that music was always a bit more singer-songwriter and piano ballady and kind of softer singing and heartfelt and stuff. But there's all these other sides of my personality and of my voice and the ways that I want to use it. So when I started Oleana, that was just me taking a stab at like writing and producing 100% on my own without collaborating. And I was like, well, let me see what I can do. And that's what came out. And it was really bizarre. I was
Is it
like, well, I
like
guess,
the alter ego? Like, what would it be if I had no fear, no anything? Like, because it is
yeah.
such a powerful persona of I can do literally anything. Like,
Yeah. Well, at the
it's so
time
inspiring.
too, at the time that I started the Oleana project, I was like kind of at the tail end of a relationship that I'd been in for a long time. I was engaged and we were like, I kind of like knew we were going to break up. And we did. We broke up. I think I'd only done one of those songs at that point. And then I kind of just like I was like in the stages of grief of like this long relationship ending. And so I just threw myself into that work and I needed to like kind of uplift myself and feel good and feel powerful and feel like I could be an independent woman and be on my own and handle my house on my own and just all the like life
Totally.
responsibility things. And so yeah, I kind of like I basically turned affirmations into music.
Yes, that is exactly how I'm so glad you said it like that, because that is exactly how I would describe the Oleana persona. I keep saying persona, but that
Yeah,
line is
yeah,
so incredible. It is literally like every positive affirmation put together to like really incredibly hyping music. I love it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really glad. Thank you.
I
It
hope
makes me
everybody
so happy.
downloads like Rebel Chick. The whole album is amazing. Like all of them, honestly, Lindsey.
That's the album. So that's the album that I did 100%. So everything on that
Okay.
album was just done by me. And then eventually, because those songs started taking off in film and TV and getting licenses and stuff like that, and different producers started reaching out to me to collaborate. And at first I said no, because I was like, I don't know, this is my one music project that I do 100% myself. Like I kind of want to keep it that way. And then people kept asking, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm like holding myself back because all these other producers are so much more seasoned and like actually know what they're doing. Like I really didn't know what I was doing. Everything that I did there, like all of those songs are just me trusting my ear really and not knowing if I'm doing it right or not.
I love that. I mean, honestly, like seriously, like when we talk about that song, Write My Story, doing this podcast, I have no idea how to run technology. I'm lucky if I can run my phone at this
Yeah.
point, you know? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I
Yeah.
ordered all the stuff. I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
whole idea of like, write my story, like nobody can do it for you, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that fearlessness of it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to try it, see what happens.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly how I approached that entire project. I just showed up every day, opened up Logic, which is the program, the music program, and I was like, well, what can I do? Like, I don't play bass or guitar. I play piano and I have like, a musical sensibility. So I just like dropped and dragged all these different woodblock sounds and percussion sounds and just made songs. I don't know. I just kind of did
That
it.
is
And the whole time I didn't really have an
incredible.
expectation either for what it would turn into. I was like, I'm just kind of doing this for me to like satisfy this part of my creativity that just wants to play and let the other stuff, hopefully make money. Like I wasn't really necessarily thinking like, oh, this is going to turn into anything, but it did. Like almost every single one of those songs on the Rebel Chick album made money somewhere on TV or in a commercial or something. And it like made me cry every single time it happened. I was like, how is this happening? It was wild.
I love that fearlessness because I mean, I think that all of us have these ideas inside us, right? Like, what if I could do that? But then we don't. This whole imposter syndrome sets in. Like, why,
Yeah.
who's going to listen to that? What if it doesn't do anything? What if it doesn't make money? But that release of expectation, I
Yeah.
think allows for so much freedom. Like even with the podcast, I've just had zero expectation, just doing it as a healing journey for myself and a hope that maybe something connects with someone and helps or gives an idea or heals something or somebody can relate to something. And that's it. That's been the only expectation. And that feeling of having someone else listen to your music, someone reaching out to me and saying, thank you so much. Like it's such an empowering, incredible feeling to know that you've done something that has given
Yeah.
people joy. Like
Yeah.
your music is giving people so much joy. I can say that at least even just for me,
Oh,
you know?
cute.
So tell me, I want to know about your journey. Like you and I talked and I can't imagine being 13. Is it 13 years old? Starting into music?
I mean, I kind of like my whole life, I guess. I just grew up in a really musical family, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I was talking about when I was 16 is what I mentioned to you,
Okay.
is when I started going to New York City. Like I grew up in a
Yes.
really small town in Maine. My sister was going to school at University of Maine, and there was a guy on the basketball team there who like produced music on campus for people and had like a radio show on campus and stuff. And my sister's boyfriend knew that I wanted to be a singer, and he was like, "Oh, you need to meet Dade." And so like I went up there to go visit my sister, and I walked up to this guy while he was like DJing some party at the college or whatever, and I was like, "Hey, I can sing," and he was like, "What? Okay." And so the next day he was like, "Okay, come by my apartment," and so I went and like sang a Mary J. Blige song for him, and then he was like, "Okay," and so then he produced a song for me and brought the recording of that back home to New York, where his little brother was in this band called Imagine that was signed to Jive Records at the time, and so his brother's band worked with this production company in New York. And so he was like, "Oh, I'm going to play it." Like basically he had connections in the industry is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And so he played it for this guy and that ran the studio, and they were like, "Yeah, we think she's good, have her come to New York for the summer." And so their family hosted me and I went and stayed with their family that summer, and my dad drove my sister and I down. My sister was 19 and she was kind of like my chaperone, I guess. And we spent a couple of months there, and I just kind of took it all in, and I was at this studio. I just showed up every day, and like I didn't write songs yet. I just kind of showed up, and like people were, I guess, sort of molding me and teaching me like how to sing in the booth and how to record background vocals, and I just was like learning everything about it. And then at the end of that summer they did a big showcase where all the artists at that production company showcased for labels. That was my first time showcasing for a label. I didn't get signed or anything, but like it felt like a big deal.
And you were
And
16.
then I was
Like
16. Yeah, it was
I
the
can't
summer
imagine
before
trying to
my
do that at
11th grade.
16.
Yeah. But you know what's
That is
weird is
so
like
brave.
I was like this kid that even though I'd lived in this really small town in Maine or whatever, I don't know, I always felt like I knew that like I could get out of that town and do something. I don't even know why. I don't know how to explain that. It wasn't, I just did. And so at that age, I actually was more fearless than I think I am now because I didn't I didn't like have anything to lose really. I was just a kid, so I was like, I had these big dreams and I was like, of course I can. Why can't I? Brandy and Monica and Britney Spears and all these girls are teenagers and they're all doing it. I actually, honestly, at that age expected things to take off a lot quicker than they did.
But I
And then it
love
didn't
that
happen.
too. I love that too because I mean, I think that there's so many things. Like I think about that stuff all the time with like I've always felt like I could do a TED Talk, right? Like I've always
Hmm.
felt like there's something inside me that is supposed to be doing something that is sharing or
Yeah.
contributing or but I think that so many people don't listen to that and let fear get in the way and stop them when
Yeah.
in that moment you were so fearless and just it sounds like didn't think about it and just
Yeah.
did it anyway. Like stepped over the fear line and just like, this is what I'm doing. Okay, here I go.
Yeah, I was just like very, very determined, very ambitious, and like really wanted to kind of race to that next stage. Like I remember feeling kind of trapped by high school even because after that summer, like I felt like, oh, I now have this sort of validation that there's people in the industry who are telling me that I have what it takes. And now I'm back at school in Maine and I'm like, what am I doing here? And so that was actually interesting too, because that was very humbling, right? It was very hard for me. And I was like, wait, maybe it isn't going to happen for me, but I never let it go. So I always just kind of figured like at some point I'm going to figure this out. And it took a really long time. I didn't end up actually moving away from my small town until I was 25.
That was quite a while then that you stayed. What was that
Yeah.
process? I mean, like during that time period, did you just, was it like a Legos, like a step by step, or was it, what was that kind of emotionally like during that time?
Well, the last couple of years of high school, I stayed affiliated with this production company in New York. So
Okay.
I would like basically that next year of high school in 11th grade, I would take Fridays off of school. I would tell my teachers, I'd be like, I'm going to go to New York this weekend. I'm going to hop on a Greyhound and go to New York to the studio. And so I need to do my test early or my work early. So I was just like I just kind of took it like really seriously. I was like a little professional. I got all my work done. I never missed any school, but I did miss several days of school. And then I would take long weekends and get on a bus and go to New York. And even if I did just one song that weekend, I mean, there were times where I would go there and honestly come back with nothing because I would get there and like that studio wasn't necessarily super on it in terms of like scheduling and stuff. So sometimes I would just show up and be like there for the experience and watching like other things happening. And then I'd go home and be like, okay. But it was all a good learning experience. So I did that for a few years. And then when I graduated high school, I had met somebody like a producer at that place that I was pretty tight with at that point. And he had me convinced that I could keep going basically. And so I didn't go to college. I chose not to go to school, which was a really big deal for me at the time. Felt really risky. And I was like, no, I'm
I
just going
get
to keep
that.
pursuing music. So I moved in with this guy who kind of managed me, this guy who lived in East Orange, New Jersey. And I kept recording more music there. And then I was apparently offered, I don't know, I didn't know I was offered a deal, but apparently I had a deal on the table at one point. But I was very unhappy with the process. I was going by the name Lynx and I
Okay.
was having to like play this character that I wasn't really into. Yeah, so at 18, I actually turned all of that down and thought that I was walking away from the dream, actually.
That had to
Like
be really
I felt like,
hard.
oh, it's finally there's like a moment here and but this isn't what I want to do because I was basically being told like if you want to do this, you have to do it this way. And I felt like it was inauthentic and it wasn't making me happy. And I was like, I don't know, that's not the dream.
Do you
So I
feel like
walked.
that is very common in the music industry? Like I looking in, it seems like there would be a lot of politics or a lot of producers saying,
Yeah.
no, this is what we want. This is what we want you to
Yeah.
do.
I think when you're young, especially, I think if you're a young artist and if you're not someone who's writing your own songs yet, I think you're kind of just a voice and you're kind of like being molded by other people. And yeah, I mean, you don't really know anything. You don't have any, like, I'm deferring everything to you guys. Like, I don't know how to do this, so I'm kind of just trusting what everyone is saying at that point. But I also had a really strong, I don't even know, is it intuition or is it just like willpower? I don't know. I didn't want to do it in a way that didn't feel good. And so
Okay.
that was a really big deal for me at that age. I do remember being absolutely devastated and thinking like, "Oh, I've been working for this my whole life even though I'm so young at that point." But I felt like, this is my one shot, but maybe I don't want to do it at all. So I walked away, went back home to Maine, worked at a pizza shop. Like the pizza shop that I worked at in high school was like, what am I going to do? And then I started playing around with local bands. So I became a wedding singer and just like played in cover bands. Like I was in a jazz band and a jazz trio, and I just like played at local restaurants and things like that. And I did that for a few years. And that kind of, helped me pay the bills and also just still feel like I was in music. But the whole time I was like, how am I going to get out of here? And like, I still want to do this thing. And then I met a guy, oddly, who had moved to my hometown, who was a producer from Philadelphia. And he had produced G Love and Special Sauce. Do you remember that band?
What was like?
Okay.
Give me a
It
song.
was like a nice, like kind of bluesy hip hoppy thing. My baby's got sauce. Your baby ain't sweet like mine. She got sauce.
Oh,
It's
now
like
I
this,
have to
like
look it up.
like very.
It's like not even ringing a bell, but now I'm looking it up.
I don't think it was ever like hugely mainstream or anything. It was kind of like this little niche thing, but he was super popular in the 90s. And so this guy had produced that and then lived in my small town and saw me in my reggae band playing like at like a street party in the middle of town. And word got around town and they were like, oh yeah, there's this guy who's a producer that just moved here and he thinks you're really good. So I went and met him for coffee. And then he kind of started mentoring me and convinced me to start writing my own songs. So that's how I
was
started
that?
writing songs.
How did that feel? Like that to me, like, because I mean, that my level of creativity is, making repurposed, Chanel and Gucci jewelry. Like that is my level of creativity. I can't imagine like is that something that just comes natural? Does it just come into your head? Like, do you hear the beats or do you write the song? How does that all work?
The music comes very easily to me. Yeah, that comes very naturally. I honestly, the best way I can describe it is that it's almost like tuning into a radio station. Like that's
So
what it
cool.
feels like. Like it's like
And it just comes?
I just start hearing it in my head and then I go to the piano and like sound it out and find like I don't read music, but I play by ear. So when I hear the music in my head, I then go to the piano and figure out, okay, where is this on the piano so that now I can like communicate it to somebody else. The lyrics always come to me last. That part was not natural for me. I mean, I wrote lyrics and stuff in my notebooks in high school and like pretended like I was writing songs, but I never felt confident. I never felt like I was a great writer, really. So I didn't ever, I planned on other people writing my music for me, basically. And then it was when I met this guy and he was like, what are you doing here in this town? I think you're so talented. And I told him my whole short story of like, yes, I went after it all in high school and it didn't work out and I didn't like it and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, you just need to start writing your own songs. And I was like, I don't think I can. He's like, just try. And then, show them to me and I'll give you my like input or whatever. And so I did. I just started writing songs and then I started showing them to him and he helped me kind of build up my confidence. And then I started playing at open mics and I started getting good reactions from crowds. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do this, and I just kind of slowly started building my confidence back up. And then it was MySpace, actually. I put a video.
That's so OG. Like that takes us all the way back.
Yeah, I put a video on MySpace of myself performing live at an open mic in San Francisco when I was on vacation with one of my friends. And there was this online competition at that time that was like submit videos of yourself performing live to win a record deal. And I was like, okay. So I submitted it. And then these people reached out to me and they were like, we want to sign you. And so they flew me to New York and I met with them. And then I ended up signing this like really small indie deal. That was the only deal I ever signed. And that was the deal that got me out of Maine. So that was all just from MySpace.
That is so weird. Crazy that MySpace would have been the start. Like, that's not what I would have expected.
Yeah.
So then what happened then? Like, I mean, because you've had such a long career in this. It's so cool. I mean, and so many changes and so many, like, talk about the, I didn't even know this was a thing. Like, it was so cool to understand the commercials. Like, what is that again? You told me the type of music that you
It's called sync. It's called writing for sync. It's like sync licensing is what people call it. And it's literally just music synced to picture. So, I mean, anytime you're watching a show, there's music in the show. Like if you're watching Grey's Anatomy and there's different songs that start playing, or when you're watching a commercial and there's a song that's not a jingle, but like an actual song, those are.
Oh, yeah, since you told me, now I'm like paying attention to it all the time. I'm like, somebody wrote that. That was like somebody's like, purposeful. I'm writing it for this type of use.
And advertisements, when we were growing up, it was all jingles.
Totally.
But I don't know when it changed. I'm not really sure when it changed. I just know at some point it did. And then when I became aware of that, also from MySpace, there was a girl, Ingrid Michaelson, who was a really popular independent artist. She was like really big on MySpace. and I saw her, I knew of her music from MySpace, and then I heard her on an Old Navy commercial one day, and I was like, "Oh my God, how did she get her song on a commercial? I want to do that." And then a year later, I actually had my first song on a commercial, oddly. Like it just kind of like I manifested it or something
See,
weird.
that's what I was just thinking. I mean, like, how much of this I've heard so many things through your story where you're like, it just oddly happened, or it just, I mean, I have to believe in that universal, like, you're putting it
Yeah.
out there, you're saying, I want to do this. And like the universe is literally providing you, like not
Yeah.
random, like on purpose,
Yeah,
all
I
these
do believe that.
opportunities.
I 100% believe that because I have a very vivid imagination. I see like the full picture, and I'm also, I think, really good at like embodying the feeling when I'm picturing what I want to do. And everything I've read or seen about
Totally.
manifestation, they're
Like
like, you
Joe
can't just say
Dispenza.
you want it. You have to like feel what it would feel like to have $1 million or whatever. You know what I mean?
Totally. That's what he
And
says. Like all of Joe Dispenza's stuff says if you're going to put it out there, because your mind and your body doesn't know the difference between whether it's happening now or not. Neither
right,
does your mind. So if you
right.
can capture the feeling, harness the feeling that is what you
Yeah.
need for
Yeah.
manifestation or projection or whatever to be pulling it in.
Yeah, like no one taught me how to manifest. And it wasn't until I got a little older and started talking to people like what you're saying. And people were like, "You're a master manifester." And I was like,
Oh,
and I remember seeing an Oprah episode about The Secret when they had
yes,
the
I
people
love
who did
that
it.
movie.
And I remember watching that. Well, this was when it was just a book, but I remember her talking to the author and everything they were describing. I was like, I already do that. I already know The Secret. I live The Secret. You know what I mean? Like
That is so
I was
funny. I've
already
met one
doing
other
it.
person in my life that has been a friend of mine that says the same thing. She's like, I feel like I've always done this. And
Yeah.
I've just always kind of thought of things in that way, visualized things in that way. She's like, I just do it all the time. And it's so second nature. She's like, but I didn't really
Yeah.
understand what I was doing until later.
Yeah.
Where I think some of us, like me, I feel like I've always had to work for that a bit. Like I had to learn how
Mm.
to meditate. Like Joe Dispenza, his work and going to one of his retreats was the only time I really learned how to put those things together.
Mm.
And I'm sure it's all the ADHD, right? Like meditating was like my own personal hell because it's like, oh, what do you mean? You want me to sit quietly in this random thought process? This is awful. But
Yeah.
once I started figuring out how to like put the visualization to the feeling and harness the feeling, it was totally different. And I can see little things like who would have thought that I got to have a conversation with you by stepping out of my comfort zone and visualizing doing podcasts. And it's
Uh-huh.
so cool.
You know what I think for me it is I think it's very similar to the energy that I tap into when I'm creating anyway. Like when like to
Totally.
me, it's like I'm me, and then there's like all this energy, and for whatever reason, I have the ability to tune into the frequency of music. I don't know why, it's just a gift that I was given. And so when I get into a certain state, which really is just kind of being inspired or just being, I don't know, like it really isn't something I have to work for. So I'm very grateful for that. But like I can feel when it's happening, and all of a sudden I start hearing music or I start getting an idea. Or like as a kid, I was a daydreamer, I would just sit in class and like picture my life and picture my future. And so really, I was doing the same thing. Like I was manifesting in those moments. But to me, I just thought I was like daydreaming,
That
and
is so cool.
it's just that my daydreams were always consistently about the same thing. And it was like, how do I get to make music? And also I felt very strongly about wanting to make people happy and bring people joy. I remember saying to my dad when I was younger, I was like, I wonder if I could be like a motivational speaker and a singer. And then it's funny because now that's kind of how you're describing
100%.
my
Like that's
music.
how
And
I
I'm like, oh my God, I did it. That's what I
Pollyanna
did.
is so all inspiring. Like it is like it's like TED Talks in music. Like it is so empowering and just it is just one of my favorite things to listen to when
Makes
I
me so
need
happy.
to pull myself to where I want to be, like in that space of like getting excited and knowing that I can do something and feeling empowered and inspired. Like that's what I listen to. I love that you can see the energy that you're pulling into it because it's infectious. It's so infectious and it transcends. Like, I think that that's
Mm,
the coolest thing about frequency, and I'm sure there's a ton of science and all that, like when you see music and you see it on, what is it with the sand
I
and
know, I love that. And it makes all the
so
different patterns, the geometric, sacred geometry patterns. I know. It's so,
like so
well, and
woo
we're
woo,
full of
but you're like,
water. And
look,
so it's like, it's literally affecting us. Yeah.
right. And the
I mean,
magic that the
that's,
book the guy, the doctor that wrote the book of The Magic of Water,
Oh, I don't know that.
oh, you've got to look it up. So there's this incredible, and I should know this off the top of my head, but there's a book about it, and it's all about the patterns and the shapes of water, like snowflakes, like water droplets, right? And
Mm,
that they're all so unique. And then they put the jar of rice. So putting a jar of rice in a dark closet and speaking angry words to the jar of rice, and then,
mm,
or water, and then speaking positive to it. And like the one jar that got angry words spoken to turned like black and moldy.
mm-hmm.
And the
Yes.
jar that was positively spoken to didn't. And it was
Yes.
totally intact. So it's that like energy and frequency. It's kind of mind blowing to me.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. And I think that's something that I somehow innately understood as a young girl too. And
Sounds
I
like it.
knew that whatever I was bringing, I wanted it to be positive because it's like obviously I have negative emotions and feelings too, and I can write those kinds of songs too, and I have in my past. But I've always felt like very intentional about like what kind of a mark do I want to leave on the world, and if I'm going to use my voice, and if I'm going to actually reach people around the world, I would like my impact to be positive. And so sometimes I've had to like deal with the almost not shame, but like embarrassment of that too, because I do think sometimes when you write a lot of music for sync licensing, it does tend to work better and you make more money when it is positive. But sometimes people can view you as less of an authentic artist because you're not, you know what I mean? It's like pop music is so sexual and it's so like it's all about like how edgy can you be? And so it's kind of like
Totally.
not cool to write songs like the Oleana songs to everybody. I'm not
Oh
saying to
my gosh,
everybody, you know what I
they're
mean?
so cool. I would way rather listen to that. I mean, there's so many, and so, because it is so, I do agree with that. Like, I do think like it is hard for me to listen to some music like with my kids. Like, I'm like, oh, this is almost uncomfortable because it's like, and all the new music, like my son who's 18, it is painful to listen to music with him because I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot listen to this with you in the room. Like,
Yeah.
it is
And it's
like
like
way too much.
uncomfortable.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I love that you recognize that. And I think that there's that feeling for all of us, like shame, guilt, like all of those feelings. I love that you have the different lines of music or personalities of music because I think it's important to have that voice that attaches. And you think about so much music that is relatable of the feelings inside that we all have, whether it's
Oh yeah.
the sadness or the shame that we all have, the imposter syndrome, the whatever, breakups, that kind of stuff is important too, because
Oh
it's
yeah.
still a relational energy that you can align with. And I think that is so important too. Is one of
Oh
your
yeah.
personas, that's the only word I can keep coming up with, unless you can give me a
No,
different
that's
one.
great.
Is there a persona that you've allowed yourself to really lean into that side of you, the darker side, the shadow side, like we call it shadow work, right?
Yeah. I think well in some of my Rael stuff I have and in some of my Lindsey Ray stuff I have too. But really the thing for me is that for the last decade, all of the music that I've written, I have written it with the intention of writing something that would be syncable. So songs that are about relationships or about love are very often not synced. So I haven't written a
Really?
lot of love songs because you can't make a living doing that in that world
That
of
is so
sync.
surprising. I mean, it's so surprising to me
They
because you think
almost
about
say
like all
that. They're like,
the soft music or the soft, the emotional type commercials or whatever. Like I would think that would be a huge
but
need
think
too.
about it. So like there is, but they're not like breakup songs. So like my emotional songs that have been used in commercial, like I have a Lindsey Ray song called Keep You Safe. And
Okay.
it is a relational thing. The way that I wrote it was about the relationship with my father. And so it is a relationship and it is a love song to me, but there aren't lyrics that are directly like, it's not a breakup song, you know what I mean? Or it's not,
Yeah.
it's sort of written in a way where you could be talking about a friend, or you
Hmm.
could be talking about God, or you could, it's like it's up for interpretation. And I did that purposefully because I knew that that would allow that song to be used in places and also allow me to continue to like spread a nice message. So it's like this weird thing where on the one hand, it's like I've been expressing myself and I've been using my gifts and I've been doing all of these things. And while they've been authentic, there has been a limitation to it
Okay.
under the bounds of like what is syncable. And so that's actually why a couple of years ago I started slowly moving away from writing for sync music. And now I'm in this new phase where I'm kind of refiguring out how to express myself without that limitation. And so far I'm just writing instrumental music because it's almost like I had to start completely all over and go, okay, no lyrics, let's just do feeling and like frequency, and like I just want it to be sound
I
first.
love that. I mean, have you ever done any like solfeggio type stuff? I could see you doing that. Have you played
I
around
mean,
with
I
that?
haven't purposefully, no, but I love that stuff.
I
Yeah.
could totally see like
Yeah.
it's so interesting that I think it makes sense though, like through our time and through our life, we have so many changes and we evolve. So it seems to
Yeah.
me like this is like an evolution of you and
Yeah.
what you wanted. I mean, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where is your heart taking you that you feel like because you seem so intentional, like whether
Yeah.
you're aware of it or not, like everything I hear in you is so like, this is where I see myself. This is the feeling of where I want to be.
Yeah, I think, well, so I had a really good run. I feel like a very fortunate career, even though it hasn't necessarily been shiny and I'm not like famous or anything. You know what I mean? But I've made a living making music and it's been awesome. But like I said, a couple of years ago, I started to feel a little bit like, but there's this whole side of me that I'm not allowing myself to express because it's not syncable. And I started to feel like I was slowly like it was kind of killing me, honestly, a little bit. And I was like, I don't want to write another song for a commercial. I don't, and it was hard to decide to walk away from that because it felt like I'm walking away from financial security in some ways. And
I
I'm
think
still sort
that's
of,
something that everyone can relate to. Like
oh, I
that
hope so.
moment,
Yeah.
I think about, I mean, even me, like I think about that in my career. I've been in corporate America forever, my entire life. And I have had this moment recently, which is how I ended up starting the podcast actually, was I did this stage work and oh my gosh, I loved it. And I have this incredible life coach who's going to be on the podcast here in a couple of weeks, who you will love her. I think you and I talked about her,
Yeah.
Haviland Lodge. And she's like, why are you waiting for corporate America to validate you? Do what start this on your own. Start a
Mm-hmm.
podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Look into a TED Talk. Like, why are you waiting for this to validate you? But it was still so, and still is so scary to think about letting go of the financial security. Will it come?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I still
Yeah.
wrestle with that. I'm amazed
Oh, I
that
do too.
you
I do too.
have been pushing past that, because I think that that's a hurdle that everyone can relate to.
Yeah. Well, I'm 2 years into it now. I mean, the first year was a lot harder. I cried a lot because I was like, oh my God, is it all over? Like, am I ever going to make money in music again? Am I making a huge mistake? While at the same time knowing there's absolutely no way that this is a mistake because everything in my body is saying, free yourself up to just follow, just be yourself. Don't worry about if yourself is licensable in this moment. Don't worry about if the music you're making, if anyone's going to like it. Like, who cares? Like, you're an artist, just create, And so it took my dog dying, really, which just absolutely devastated me. And then I went to my piano to like calm my nervous system. And all of a sudden, I started writing piano instrumentals. And a couple of days into that grief process and playing piano, I was like, wait, I didn't even know I could play the piano like this. And it felt very like, it's hard to describe it. It felt like a lightning bolt. Like it felt like really intense energy moving through my body. And I remember calling my sister and she's like, how are you doing? And I was like, I think I need to write piano music for a while. And she was like, okay. And I was like, no, I like, really, I think this is what I have to do. And so I spent all of last year literally just at the piano. I mean, I don't even know. I probably have 50 or 60 compositions of instrumental music. And I'm still like, I've only recorded a few of them. I've released 7 of them, I think. And I had to learn the whole process of how to record live piano and all of these things. So all of a sudden I got this goal and I was like, not only am I going to write these songs, I'm going to record them and I'm going to record them on live piano. I'm not going to use a plug-in and a digital keyboard like everyone else does in the world. I'm going to do it the hard,
So
authentic
cool.
way.
I love that though. I mean,
It's so hard.
there's so much that's so inspiring, honestly. Like that is what I love. And the whole reason behind this podcast is like overcoming really hard things and how you do that and that process and what were you feeling and pushing through. Like that is what
Frustrated a lot of the
that is
time.
that's what helps us all transcend. Like those are the
Yeah.
stories, the heroic stories that people can attach to and align to and use and springboard from. If you can do it, okay, well then maybe I can do it.
I think it comes down to this. This is honestly what I believe. Because I think people hear stories about people doing hard things and doing things, and then they're like, they tell themselves, oh, well, that person's just capable of something that I'm not. Like, I don't have the skill, or I talk to certain people in my life, and they'll be like, well, I can't because of this, that. And it's like, well, as long as you believe that, that's true because
Agreed.
it's all your brain. And so, yeah, there was a part of me that's like, I don't know how to record live piano. But I thought, okay, well, I trust my ears. It worked with Oleana. So I bought microphones. I mic'd them. I watched every YouTube video I could find on all the different ways to mic pianos. And then I tried all of them. I recorded the same song 40 different times, 40 different ways, just to hear the difference. Like I just took the time to allow myself to kind of like not be good at it and then trust myself to know when I thought it was good, which was a really hard part too, because I recorded some of these piano instrumentals and sent them to friends of mine who are composers who are really good at this stuff. And I was like, what do you think? And then they gave me their feedback and kind of their critiques of like, oh, maybe you could do less pedal sound and all this. And I was like, okay. And I took it. But then I thought, you know what? I have to love it. And so I don't really, it's like, I'm going to take everything that everyone is telling me because it's important to have that information. But I also have to trust myself as the artist to know, when do I like it? And also, like, is it ever going to be perfect? No. So once I let go of perfection, I was like, I'm just going to start releasing these, knowing that maybe someday I'll hear that and think, oh man, that doesn't sound great or whatever. But it's like, if I don't just start trusting myself and allowing myself to express this music, number one, and just try, then I'm always gonna feel that, like, that tight gripped thing where we hold ourselves back. And
Totally.
I think I've lived my life this way for so long, and I've done this so many times. I've like flexed that muscle of working through something that's hard and figuring it out regardless of how hard it is, and being willing to be scared and do it anyway. Like
I love
that
that
is a
you say
skill that I have.
the flexing of the muscle. Like what you're saying is you've done this so many times, right? That now that fear gets a little bit less, and it's becoming habit to you to just also do it, to push through. And I think
Yeah.
that's such a good analogy of like, if you just keep doing it, it's like building a muscle, right? That fear
Yeah.
will get less and less, and you become more comfortable. You're not comfortable in the beginning, and
Yeah.
it can be really uncomfortable, sometimes a little painful, and then you just keep building it. I love
Yeah.
that saying of, what if it all works out? You know, like in that
Mm.
moment of fear, what if it all works out? Like I tell my kids all the time, don't tell me what you can't do. Don't start with what you can't do. Tell me what you can do. If you
Mhm.
were to do this, what could you do? You
Mhm.
already know what you can't do because that's the first things that's come into your mind. So tell me what you can do. And in those, in those moments, because I think all of that, our brain leaps to, well, I can't do this. Well, but this won't work. This is why it won't work. I can't do
I
this.
don't know how. It's always
And that is
a lot
your,
of that. Yeah.
totally, your amygdala. Have you heard all the kind of, did you ever read Mel Robbins' book, The 5 Second Rule? It's a great book. She puts the science in there on why, if you wait 5 to 10 seconds, your amygdala starts to hijack, and then that's what's running. Versus
Mm.
in that first few 5 to 10 seconds of, I'm going to do this, start to do it. Okay, I'm going to
Mm.
do it without a plan. I'm going to do it
Mhm.
without expectation. If you can start there, your amygdala doesn't have that time to hijack you with all of the buts of
Mm.
why it's not going to work out, of why you shouldn't do it.
Mm. I like that. I also like, I really do. I feel like, because I agree with you that yes, the fear gets maybe less and all of that, but I also kind of feel like you get more comfortable doing things with that sensation of fear.
Totally.
It's not really that the fear goes away, it's just that you
Okay.
can, to me anyway, it's like I can handle that feeling in my body. It's just like, for me it's the same as working
That
out.
makes
When I work
sense.
out, it's like, it's not like doing squats one day doesn't hurt. Like it still hurts because now I'm upping the weight, but I now understand that that pain is a gain, and like I can handle the pain. Like I like it, you know what I
It's
mean?
part of
Like
the
I don't.
process.
Yes. And so the whole time that I was doing all of this, learning how to record this piano, I mean, there were tears for sure. There were moments of frustration
Oh,
where
I
I would call
imagine.
my husband and be like, what am I doing? And like would second guess myself and have to talk myself off the ledge. But every time I remembered, but why am I doing this? Like also, nobody's making me do this. You know what I mean? I had to remember that too. Like, this is not life or death. No one even knows that you're doing this. Nobody cares. Like, this is you're following your passion. So, number one, do you still want to
Oh, I
do this?
totally get that. I totally, and like, even like I had this month that was really, really hard with work, and I hadn't done a podcast, and I was like feeling all this like, oh man. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing this for fun.
Right,
There is no pressure here.
right. I'm not going to
Nobody
get
even
like,
knows
no
whether
one's
or
going to
not,
hold me over a fire.
so far my 25 followers, right? Like aren't like, where is it? But,
Right.
but it's
But you
like,
have to take it that seriously to do it,
totally,
right? Like, so there's
totally.
like that balance of like, I do take this seriously because this is something I'm trying to do. And then also, I need to like allow this room for growth and imperfection and for figuring it out. And that's the other point that I was going to make, is that to me, it's like, I feel less about like that it's that and doing things fearlessly. It's more that I'm allowing myself to figure it out, and I'm continually teaching myself and proving to myself over time that I do. I always figure it out somehow. And it's like sheer determination and just like research. I mean, we live in a time where there's so much information, like
Totally.
between ChatGPT or Google or YouTube or whatever, like you can kind
I
of
call
figure out how to
ChatGPT
do.
my business partner because that's where half my day is spent these days.
Yeah, there's so much information. Like you can figure it out. Like you can really truly do anything that you want to do if you decide that you can
Totally.
and that you're willing to put in the hard work. Like those two things are the most important ingredients. You have to believe that you can,
Mhm.
and you have to be willing to figure it out and to know that it's not going to necessarily come easy. And also remember when you hear other people's stories that it's not like Lindsey Ray just decided to start producing and then produced this album and made a bunch of money with it. Like it wasn't just that to that. There was all that time in between of me figuring things out, me being frustrated, of me second guessing myself and having imposter syndrome and doing it anyway. And that's why it feels so good when it finally comes together. And then now somebody from another part of the country reaches out to me out of the blue, and it's like, this has made me want to do my thing. I mean, my God, like that's what we're all here to do, is just follow our instincts, follow our creative impulses, and trust that that energy is going to connect with some stranger somewhere. And like, even if you don't know that it's happening, it's happening. And I think that's what we're all here to do, is share our energy, and not without even knowing how it's affecting other people. But it's like we're like all these little bubbles just bouncing into each other and like helping each other evolve. It's beautiful.
It is so beautiful. I love that so much. And I think that's one of the things I love about podcasts too and music is that it's there forever. Like you
Yeah.
put this out there and you never know who could be 5 years from now that somebody stumbles across it from some search or whatever and how it comes up and touches them. It's like it just keeps going and
Yeah.
it's like a permanence in
Yeah.
the universal energy, the gift of it.
Yeah. I'm really into all that stuff, especially
Me
now. That's the
too.
other thing is when you're like, what are you into right now? I'm like, well, I'm kind of like, I'm still making music and I'm still following my intuition and doing, whatever I want to do. But I'm kind of like, I'm really into this podcast thing now. So I started my own podcast, which I know
I'm so
it's called
excited. Yep.
Ray of Light with Lindsey Ray, which is also terrifying because I've
I
always
love the
kind of like,
name.
oh, you do?
I do. I love the name because I think it's so positive energy infusing. It's like a perfect
Thank you.
descriptor of you.
Well, my ex's father used to always call me Lindsay Ray O Sunshine, and so I thought of that, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
Ray of Light, that's kind of a cool idea." And it wasn't taken, so I took it.
I love it.
But I'm kind of doing that right now, and without really knowing how that's going to also feed the music. But what my intuition is telling me, is that there's all these parts of my, I guess, process and just, like mindset and all the things that I've had to work on internally, shadow work, really,
Right.
and
Oh,
like
yeah.
personal, like healing journey, that because I think I've never expressed it through my music, because I haven't written a lot of those sad songs, there's all this parts of me that feel like they need to be shared. And yeah, I could just write songs and do that. But right now, I'm really enjoying just talking, because I'm also like normally very introverted and a person that like will talk like this with people that I'm close to, but not necessarily like love being on some big platform or something. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of like testing the waters of how comfortable I can get being publicly vulnerable, and see, with the hopes that it makes me more comfortable honestly with myself, and that will, I think, feed into my music and allow me to then write those deeper, more personal songs. Like that's kind of the goal that I'm working on. But right now I feel like very clearly like, no, my path right now is just to like sit and meditate on this stuff and just speak it. Just speak it first and write instrumental music for a while, and then we can pair it together. And I don't know when that comes, but I know it will come.
I think it is so incredibly aware and inspired. I mean, honestly, like so much of our growth comes from that shadow work, from paying attention to it, looking at it, working through it, right? Like, and it
Yeah.
has to be really cathartic. I have found this
Yeah.
podcast to be very cathartic, like pushing through all of my fear of what do I have to say or how, why would I be one to have a voice with any of this?
Yeah.
And then just the idea of talking through the hard things. Like, I'm excited that you're delving into that because after what I went through with the loss of my sister and this last, really, really hard 9 months of learning so much about myself and all of the shadow work,
Mm.
there's such a need for that too. There's a need
Yeah.
for a place to feel those emotions and something that aligns and speaks to those, because I don't always know how to put words to things. But that's where I feel like music transcends across everything, because you don't even have to put words to it, right? Like it's a feeling, and it can just
Hmm.
go through your entire body, and you can feel those words, feel those lyrics, feel those just instrumentals. And it seems to put an internal matching with an emotion that sometimes is really hard to put words to. So I am
Oh
so
yeah.
excited for your work in those areas, because I
Oh,
think that
thank
there's
you.
such a need for that too.
I
Not
do
everything
too.
is all, rainbows and butterflies. There's a lot of our life
Right.
that's really hard. And that's really, honestly, most of the growth comes from that. Most
Oh,
of the growth comes from the hard stuff, not the
oh yeah.
successes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and to me, like, I love all of that stuff. I love the light and dark and playing with the yin and yang of like, to me, it's like that's all equally valuable parts of the experience. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I've kind of only shown the side of myself publicly that's like sunshine and rainbows. And I'm like, yeah, but there's like so much more depth to me that I haven't shared. And it feels like, and it's, I almost feel like sometimes it's hard for me because I'm like, oh God, is that my ego that's like, oh, and I want to share this part too? It's like, who cares, lady? But at the same time, I feel like the reason that I feel pulled to share that is because I do also feel fairly comfortable, like kind of telling you anything. Like I'll tell anybody anything if they ask me, you know what I mean? And so
I
I
love
feel
that.
like, well, I think there's a world where, like, especially like performative stuff and like Hollywood or whatever you want to call it, it tends to be very, I don't know. It's like everything's like wrapped up in a nice bow. And it's like, this is the message we want to give, and this is the product we're selling. And it's like, okay, but where's the real stuff? You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's
It's
where the
like,
disconnect is, I think, and that's where
yeah.
people feel like that gap between, and that, like, what is it? The comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the world is telling us something, right? And that's where we feel this disconnect, and where we feel like, well, everybody else feels this way. Why do I feel this way? And I think that is the beauty of these podcasts and
Yeah.
sharing and these conversations and the dark side of, music. And because that's what we all can really relate to. It's very hard to
Yeah.
relate to a perfect world.
I know. And I think that's why podcasts are becoming so popular over the last few years is because a
Agree.
lot of it is kind of just people having normal conversations and talking about their lives. And it's like all of a sudden we're all going, wait, yeah, I am actually more interested in hearing some random person's story of how they got through grief than I am hearing, I don't know, like whoever the star is of today talk about how they made that movie. Like both can exist. I'm not saying that one can't
Right.
exist or whatever, but I think it's like so much of our world right now is performative and fake, and it's like we're craving real and authenticity. At least I know I am, and the people in my world around me. And so it's like, well, okay, if I'm craving that, then why don't I just start putting that out there and
Well, I
then
think we're all
letting
more
it.
isolated. Like, if you think about like the 50s versus maybe today, we spend so much of our time in online formats and not
Yeah,
in close proximity social settings. I
I
mean,
know.
so much of us are working remote. I work remote. So it's me in my office. I
Hmm.
spend the entire day, some days, not seeing anyone except my family, and I don't even leave my house. So I think you're right. Like I'm craving that connection, that authenticity, that hearing what real is,
Yeah,
because I can relate to it. And there's a
right.
need to have that kind of connection.
Yeah, and I think every time anybody is sharing like the real raw truth of their story, of their life, of their experience, it's like I don't know how you can't relate to it. Like there's, even if you haven't been through that exact same experience, there's like it's like you've been devastated before and had to figure out how to wake up tomorrow. Me too. Like
Right.
we've all had those feelings. Oh, you've had that feeling of dreaming about wanting to do something and questioning whether you deserve to do it or whether you can, or it's like we've all experienced that. And so I think sharing that, the more that everyone starts sharing that, the more we can all just be like, oh, we're all flawed and we're also all awesome. Like we can all do whatever
Totally.
we want. It's
Totally.
fine. And we don't
Perfectly
have to be perfect,
imperfect.
thank God.
And I think it's hope. Like, I can listen to your story and feel some hope. Like, okay, good job, Michelle. You're doing this. You're stepping outside your comfort zone without expectation. Like, good job. I think
Yeah.
that there's some validation that can also be gleaned from other people's stories, that you're like, I am showing up. Okay. It's not perfect. And all this hope, like hope is so infectious.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and sometimes just seeing like someone a little further along in the process and then,
Mhm.
you know, hearing how they struggled and how proud they feel of themselves, and then you're like, "Oh, I want to feel proud of myself. What can I do?"
Totally.
Like, well, okay, yeah, go do your thing, whatever your thing is, you know?
And the sharing, like I wouldn't have, I was having a really hard time trying to figure out how to get the podcast on Apple. And here you spent 10 minutes and there it is. And I was so excited. And it was just like you said, I was like, I'm official. It's on
I
Apple
know.
now.
Why
Here
does
we
that
go.
feel official? I don't
I
know.
have no idea,
I think
but
it's because it's an
100%.
app. I think it's because it's an app on
Probably.
your phone that you can click on and then it shows up in your library, you know, and it's just like, "Oh, there it is. Oh my God,
There
I
it
made
is.
that." It's
Oh
like,
my gosh. And
yeah,
it's where I go for most of mine. Like, I guess
me
just because I
too.
have an iPhone. And
Yeah.
so maybe that's also why it felt so official. But I was
Yeah.
like, it's happened.
It's like I'm
Here
on
it
my
is.
phone. I'm on my phone. Like when my new
Look at me.
episodes come out, they're like,
There's
"New
my
episode."
face.
I'm like, "That's me. I made that on Canva."
Exactly. That is so funny. I've been amazed. I'm like, here I am, 50 now. Look at what I can do on Canva. I have blown myself away with my level of creativity and ability to make stuff on Canva. Who knew I would have
I
ever been
know.
able to do that if I hadn't just started playing around with it?
You just gotta play. Yeah, I think it really does come down to that. I think it's like allowing I had this idea the other day where I was like, you know, when we were little kids, it's like you're in the sandbox and you're just playing. Like someone isn't saying, "Hey, you better build a really nice castle or you don't get dinner," or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like
Right?
you're just playing. Like if we can just get back to that kind of state of just allowing ourselves to, it doesn't have to, you know, like you don't have to be like, "Hey, I want to start doing pottery and now I expect that I'm going to make the most beautiful vase of all time." It's like just start playing. Just see. Like, I don't know, maybe you'll make something that no one's ever made before.
I love that. So where can everybody find your new projects? Like what does everybody look up? So Ray of Light podcast
Ray of Light with Lindsey Ray.
with Lindsey Ray. Okay.
Yes, because Ray of Light was taken. There's like a lot of Ray of Light, so I
Makes
had to make
sense.
it Ray of Light with Lindsey Ray.
I
So,
love it. It flows really well.
uh-huh. And so that, you know, I have a YouTube channel where I'm releasing the episodes there, and then they're also on Spotify and Apple and iHeartRadio, I think, and Amazon and, you know, a bunch of different podcast streaming places. And you can follow on Instagram at Ray of Light Pod. And
Okay. I
then
didn't have
I
that one,
have
so thank you.
that's the Instagram for it. And so like after I release an episode, sometimes I'll share like extra little things. Like the last episode, well actually no, the last episode came out last week, but a couple of episodes ago I did one about my dad and then like I shared a picture, you know, from the past of my dad. Like little things. So there's like extra
Hmm.
stuff on Instagram basically is what I'm saying that you wouldn't get other places. And then musically, I release music under Lindsey Ray, Rayel, and Oleana. And so Lindsey Ray is Lindseyray. You can find me on Spotify or Apple or iTunes, whatever. And Rayel is Rayelle. And Rayel's on Instagram as well at official Rayel. And then Oleana is Ollyanna. Oleana. And so that's everywhere too
Totally been my favorite.
for streaming. And then that's on Instagram at I am Oleana. So yeah, I have Instagram pages for all of them, but most of my following honestly is like on Spotify or YouTube or things like that. I've never really had a big Instagram following because I've never really put the work in to do that.
It is a lot of work. I mean, honestly, like,
Yeah,
and I haven't figured out the algorithm. I just keep doing it. I just keep
yeah,
posting and just making, and you know, sometimes a lot of it is just for me, right? Like this
yeah,
little snippet of positivity or thought process
yeah.
is just because I need to keep hearing it. And
Me
maybe
too.
it helps someone else, you
Me
know?
too. And then it's like if someone does find the page, like, you know, maybe you find some little nuggets on there that you love. But yeah,
Totally.
I'm not really at my age, I don't really feel personally super interested in like learning how to become a content creator or an influencer. Like that's just not something I want
Well,
to
you
spend
have
my
so
energy
many other
on.
gifts. Like your
I just
gifts are
don't,
so
I don't have,
profound in other areas. Keep
well,
doing what you're
thank
doing.
you. Thank you. I mean, I also really do believe in the whole idea of like yes, you have to have a right the business mind and like do all these different things that are important for your business, but I also think sometimes you just like with this podcast, for example, like I'm not really worried about the fact that I don't have a lot of listeners yet because I'm just going to keep putting it out there. I'm going to keep following the with the intention and the purpose and trusting that the energy now is going out into the world and whoever it's meant for, whoever's meant to receive it will somehow be magnetized to it and will find it. And over time, if it's meant to be something, it will. And if it's not, then maybe it was just for me, and that's okay too, because it'll serve me going to whatever the next thing is that I do. Like, I'm just not really worried about it. I don't know if that sounds unprofessional, but it's really how I
No,
feel.
I think that is what everybody would like to strive to feel, right? Like that is a trust. It's a trust in the
Yeah.
process and in the universe. And I think that is where most of us, me included, struggle with trusting the process. It's that A type
Mm,
personality or that anxiety or whatever that struggles, wants to control versus
mm,
trusting the process. So I think that's a gift. Like I look at you with a bit of envy, like, okay,
mm.
that's what I want to work towards versus that kind of control that I can feel in so many other areas of my life. Could be
Well,
my
I will
37
say
kids. Just
I will
saying.
say I also have the control gene, and for a lot of years I did hold on very tightly and try to control it, and I think I got to a point where I'm now able to sort of let go a little more and trust the process more. Number one, because I have enough experience now to know that even every time I was trying to steer, it went wherever it wanted to go anyway, and it actually went places that were better than what I thought I was steering. So
Oh,
now that I
totally.
know that, I'm like, actually, I don't even know if I do want to drive anymore. Like, I now really do believe that there is a higher power in charge. And I'm like, yeah, lead the way, take me. Like, all good.
That is beautiful. Like I aspire to that moment. I mean, to that place. I think in that comes the freedom. I mean, that is the magic right there. When you can let go and just let the universe work in your favor, I think that is absolutely the magic. Like I am so excited for you and all of your next projects. I cannot wait to listen to them,
Thank
to
you.
get to experience them. And I hope that you come back and we can do this again
I would love
when
to.
you're
I know, wouldn't it be fun like a year from now to see where we're at?
totally so
Yeah, that would be
exciting. Like
fun.
I am so proud of you for everything that you have
Oh,
been willing to put yourself out and do because it is impacting people. It is changing lives. I mean, you during a very dark period of my life gave me a hope and inspiration and a fearlessness that I was really, really wrestling with and didn't feel like I had. But when I listened to that, I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. Yep, yep. This is amazing. And I could feel it in my body. So the gift that you're giving the world is really, really incredible. And thank you. I mean, and I
thank
hope
you.
everybody that ever comes across this, please look her music up because it is so inspiring and so incredible.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
so
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on here.
Yeah,
And we'll
so
do this
fun.
again. And we will all be watching where you're going.
Okay, great. And I'm going to be watching you too.
Yay! Thank you, everyone, for being on here today. Make sure to look up Lindsey's music. And by all means, we will see you again in 2 weeks. And we're going to be talking about the universal pull. And this will really build off of what we were talking about today and a lot of the Joe Dispenza and neurolinguistics of how we change our thought patterns. So I look forward to talking with everyone soon. Welcome to Grit, Grace, and Resilience. I'm your host, Michelle DeGrange. I'm a corporate leader, mentor, life coach in training, and a mom to what feels like 37 kids. Just kidding, only 6. Apparently, all that qualifies me to overshare on the internet. Every one of us has a story of overcoming, and this podcast is here to dig into those and talk about life and what overcoming with grit, grace, and resilience looks like. If you like things a little messy and sometimes a little unhinged, you'll fit right in. Welcome. We're glad you're here.